The first impactful stage in this year's Tour Auvergne Rhône-Alpes, we have the team time trial, a hilly one. We got mechanicals, riders surprising in a positive and negative way. It's a tricky TTT to pace because you've got two hills. And also, the first one starts hard, 1K 6%, but then you got a long, fast, false, flat downhill section afterwards, then a kick up to the line. We didn't see the downhill, which was quite technical, but a good road surface for the bigger teams that went later. Jayco went first. They were smashing it compared to the other teams. They're always good in this discipline. Good to see Michael Matthews back. He led them over the line, 150 ahead of NSN, more or less. UAE, one of the big GC teams next to go. They don't have their Tour de France team really here apart from Del Toro. They don't have McNulty, no Vermeersch, no Wellens, and you can see that they were losing a little bit of time to Bahrain, which meant that they probably weren't going to set the greatest time. They were really relying on Del Toro to pace these hills. But yeah, really tricky TTT. You got to have the right composition of the team. You got to get the big guys over the hills, but you can't go too slow on the hills because then you lose too much time on the hills. We see here, watch Del Toro, right? He shifts before this corner. He looks down, makes sure he's shifted, does it smooth, pedals through, takes the tension off. Then he corners, and watch him again. Watch how smooth his pedal stroke and cautious it is right here. When he goes through that corner, he was not dropping his chain in that corner. So just small things like that from Del Toro, like they just don't make mistakes. It's all part of being a GC rider. They lose 7 seconds though to Jayco. They were going to lose a lot of time. Movistar, they did a passable TTT. They got Garcia Piana and Romeo helping Kian Otterbrooks. They were 2 seconds ahead of Jayco, so solid time. Little Trek. No trucks here. They got a balanced team of like Kemner, Lotus 65 to 75 kilo guys, but no Söderqvist, no Pedersen, no Vatsek. So strong on the hills, but maybe missing that big engine like they had in Paris where did Ineos win? Yeah, I think Ineos won. They were second in the TTT. They were going well though, 11 ahead of Bahrain at the intermediate, the first one, and then at the second one, Ayuso hangs on to Schkelly, who just launches it. They finished 20 seconds ahead of Movistar to set a provisional time that would last for quite a while. Decathlon next. France's big hopeful for this July. Paul Seixas, he's got Bissiger, he's got Dan Holer, who was a one-man wrecking ball in that Paris TTT, but he's telling Seixas to slow down here. So, as I said, pacing's really tricky. They want to get Bissiger over this first hill, but then he drops on pretty early, 9 minutes in. At the same point, we'll see another rider drop right there. They get Holer over. Prudhomme just manages to hang on, but Seixas probably can go quicker. He nearly crashes in this corner. He pedals a little bit too early, nearly slides out. A bit different to Del Toro. He does a quick climb, though, drops Bizieux, but not quick enough. They're more than 12 seconds behind the Little Trek, and that'll be a lot more behind Visma and Netcompany Ineos. Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, similarly, they don't have the trucks, they don't have Remco, but you see the thumbs up to the car over the key climb at the intermediate 2. They set a good time. They brought 4 riders into the final climb, then Fischer Black launched Van Gils and Danny Martinez, and they did, what I would say is a solid climb, or solid time rather, for the team. They brought 7 seconds behind Little Trek. But now the stage second favourites, Netcompany Ineos, they have got on Tarling, Sam Watson's class in a prologue, Rodriguez, and watch here, I think it might be Vauquelin at the back, avoiding these potholes on this descent. So there's some roadwork, patchwork on the road. Watson drops his chain, outside chain drop, can't get it back on. Big loss for them. Watson's obviously would have got over these hills and then smashed this flat section. Second chain drop, only stop pedaling for a second, and then I think forward or backwards pedaled, chain comes off. You see Kevin Vauquelin's like, let's persevere, because they want to win the stage. Tarling and everyone else get the order to wait. Vauquelin's hand goes up again, because you also don't know, will only get the chain back on at this. Watson didn't get the chain on. He was gone. And then you might lose everything. All GC only does get the chain back on without having to stop, gets back in on the last climb. Tarling drops them off, Rodriguez, Vauquelin, and we're seeing big green numbers from Ineos with that climb. They're going to set a big time despite the Onley and Watson mechanicals going 23 seconds ahead of Little Trek. The next team, the maybe only one that could beat Net Company Ineos was Visma-Lease bike. They've got Van Aert, Armorel, Hagenez, Affini, Jorgensen as the trucks. But Van Aert, gone at the same point as Stefan Bissiger right there. And then Tullett on the downhill between the two climbs has a rear flat, just holds it up, not crashing on that descent I showed you. Visma are down to 5 riders for the more than half of the TT. They get Affini and Armorel, and Hagenez over that climb and then start peeling. Affini, Hagenez, Armorel do big death pulls into the base of the final hill. Jorgensen, I think, takes a couple of seconds with his corner compared to the other GC guys. And then Jorgen Nordhagen does the full lead out for about 40 seconds for Jorgensen, who then says, adieu, my young friend, and takes a big victory for Visma-Lease bike, 10 seconds ahead of Net Company Ineos. But would it be, excuse me, victory? Are we forgetting somebody? EF Education-EasyPost, who have the yellow jersey, Baudin in good shape, they were the same time as Visma-Lease bike at T2 with Steinhauser still. They had Leonard, Steinhauser, Baudin, Healy, but they ran out of horses. They didn't have the big engines for that false flat downhill section. Baudin is, they do a very good time though, third. They'll take it, 30 seconds behind Visma-Lease bike, who win the stage, but we'll see who gets to actually keep the yellow jersey. Visma win ahead of Ineos on 9 seconds, then EF 29 seconds, Trek 32, Decathlon 45 after Red Bull 40, 1 minute loss for UAE Team Emirates.
Talk us through that day. It went all as planned?
No, actually no. If I reflect on it, it didn't really go as planned at all. We had first we lost Wout pretty early, wasn't feeling super, and then Ben flatted and almost crashed on the main descent of the day, so that was a hairy moment, but I think we adapted well to the situation and we could kind of rearrange things and readjust. And honestly, I think the last 10K downhill, we couldn't have gone any faster. Bruno, Ado, Per were all incredibly strong, and I was given a free ride to the last climb.
It shows that the legs are there. You must be very satisfied with that, especially after the tough months that you went through. Promising for the days to come in the mountains.
Definitely. It feels good to win a race, and it is really nice after the spring I've had to come back and be on top again. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be part of a team like this where we have people that look after all the details and make such a clear plan for us. I'm so super happy to be part of this team and take this win together.
In terms of GC, Baudin keeps the jersey comfortably, in fact. 12 seconds out of the Ineos duo, Vauquelin and Omni. Jorgensen's now on 15 seconds in GC. Those three have a 30-second gap on the Trek boys and quite a big gap on Seixas and Del Toro as well. So Del Toro and Seixas got their work cut out. GC set up quite nicely for some attacks. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you with a recap tomorrow. Ciao, ciao.